Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Acidic Alex, and we went ahead and gave Hela a max PvP build. So I wanted to show that video today. I wanted to showcase how good Hela can be on her own, not as a support, but as the main part of your team for PvP, specifically timeline battle. Now, she is apparently very good for Alliance Tournament, which is sort of like the extra whale mode of Alliance Conquest. And that game mode is why I actually originally built her up. This is just sort of a side hustle, side project, side benefit to having her built up for PvP. So there you go. She handily takes care of a Sentry and Spider-Man, but in my opinion, as cool as that is, I actually think that she might be better suited for PvE. I know, I'm starting 2022 with a lot of controversial opinions. You shouldn't give a brilliant CTP of Destruction to Spider-Man, even though it took the devs 3 years, 4 years, 5 years to actually make him meta. Nah, I kid, I digress. But let's take a look at the build here. We're gonna just hurry. So back out of this page so that we can just look at her raw stats here without Wasp, because Wasp is adding 10% HP. But there you go. She's got 50,000 energy attack, just under 20,000 physical defense, and energy defense just over 20,000, and just under 100,000 HP. Now the rest of the build is as follows. We've got 4 HP Urus, or Odin's Blessings, excuse me, and 8 HP Urus. So I went all in on the HP. I'm trying to maximize her survivability, and I'll sort of explain my thinking and my logic and my reasoning. And then we actually gave her some 6-star Uru and some Odin's Blessing to just bump up her energy attack more. She didn't necessarily need the ignore defense. I actually should have probably given her, like if I wanted to really go max, I would have given her 2 crit damage or 2 crit rate or 3 crit rate and 1 crit damage Odin's Blessing, but I want to save those for PvE characters. She's got the stage 11 Power of Angry Hulk. She's got the, spoiler alert, she's got the artifact. So this is the artifact that I pulled from the $140 I spent on Betsy. It's right there on Hela. So it does give her 4 seconds of immortality when she gets below 5%, as long as the last 5% or 6% is not chunked off in one shot. If she gets one tapped down to 0, then this won't trigger, but otherwise it will trigger and give her the Blessing of Death, which is very thematic for Hela. And then she gets a little bit of heal at the end. I've got a mighty CTP of Authority. Now, a bunch of people are going to jump into the comments and say, Alex, Hela doesn't have any penetration on her skills, so she needs a mighty destruction or a brilliant destruction. And you're not wrong. She doesn't have penetration on her skills, and I believe she only gets penetration on her ultimate ability. However, here's the thing, here's the problem with Hela already. The base problem with Hela is that she has no iframe ignore. Even on her counter ability, the counter attack skill, Merciless Judgment, does not have iframe ignore. It should have iframe ignore, but it doesn't. So the problem that you'll see is that Hela spends a lot of time standing around. She literally spends a lot of time standing around, especially versus certain opponents, Spider-Man, that have a lot of iframes and that spam iframes consistently. So my thinking is, well, not only is this the best build for her for Alliance Tournament, I'll put that out there, I'll keep that in mind, but she's not going to win a quick battle, because a quick battle, right, a really fast fight here, she's going to lose to someone else because she doesn't have iframe ignore and she doesn't have the best stats, right? She's got less than 100,000 HP, which is not that much, to be honest, and she's got very low defenses. So my idea is to just stall, essentially, and allow her to be in the fight as long as possible, and that's where the mighty CTP of Authority comes in with the damage reduction. Now, the rest of the build here, we've got crowd control, double HP, all defense, and then energy attack. And then for the team, I've actually tried out a bunch of different teams for Hela, and I'll talk about the teams here, but I think this one might be the most consistent. I do think this one might be the most consistent, but there's lots of variations of teams, and you can basically fight any team. You can win against any team unless they have one of the 3. So one of the 3 following will probably just counter your Hela straight up. A Molecule Man team, pretty straightforward. If you know what Molecule Man's leadership does, it just ignores all of Colossus's buffs, it ignores all of Hela's buffs, and then she's probably just gonna get real quickly clapped. Second thing that's gonna counter a Hela team is most well-built Ebony Maw. Most well-built Doctor Doom teams. Doctor Doom, not a hero, he's a villain. He just does way too much damage, and he circulates between the 4 and 5 iframes, and Hela just literally stands there and dies, and I'll show you proof of that. So Molecule Man and Doctor Doom, they make short work of Hela. And then last but not least, a better Hela is probably going to beat yours with a higher ranking artifact. I also have trouble with some Wolverines, believe it or not, because of that pesky artifact. So yeah, she's not, I don't think she's the best for PvP. She's not even the best villain for PvP. But yeah, I tried a bunch of teams. I think this one is the most consistent, but I also tried this one. This one's pretty good. Blue Marvel isn't the best, but he's going to give you increased damage to debuff removal enemies, and he's going to give you the 50% all defense, which brings her defenses a little bit more respectable into the 25,000, 26,000 range. So again, she can stay in the fight longer. She has more opportunity to use that counterattack, use that heal for her advantage. You can also try something like this. I think this is inferior to the Blue Marvel team, but again, it's also giving her a bit of a heal. She does have a heal on 5, but this just gives her more of a heal, more tankiness. You can also try something like this just to give her an extra 30% or 35% HP and damage reduction. Again, just little bits and pieces here. She doesn't have the debuff immunity, but that's okay because Hela doesn't have a way of interrupting enemies in iframe anyways, so it kind of doesn't matter. We're going to go ahead with this team here because I think this one's fine, but let's go back and queue up against this team one more time so you guys can see. Whenever Sentry is going to do one of his long iframe skills, unless Hela can get the upper hand, see, she just stands here during the 5 that he does, and she just absorbs all that damage. So in the case of me having an offensive build with a CTP of Destruction, she would have died there, right? She wouldn't have died. She would have triggered her artifact, and that's what I want to try and avoid. You want to stall out and basically, you know, kill as many opponents as possible before having to trigger your artifact. The sooner you trigger the artifact, the better chance you have of losing the fight altogether. And the really cool thing about Hela, despite the fact that I've mentioned quite a few weaknesses that she has, the really cool thing is that she's making her whole team better. And you sort of forget about that as you're playing. There I got really lucky and the tier 3 skill lined up with Spider-Man coming in and he got clapped. But let's say my Hela dies in that situation and my Wasp dies. It's my Colossus versus his Colossus. Why is that good and to my advantage? Well, because my Colossus has the Hela buff, giving him more damage against the enemy Colossus because now they're both heroes. And this can actually save you to the point where your Colossus can sometimes take down the last 2 opponents if they're both physical types like Wolverine and Colossus or Spider-Man and Colossus. But okay, so we've seen what you can do on the positive end. Let's see what happens on the negative end here. This is really why you have to avoid Dr. Doom's teams at all costs. And again, we're playing fully on auto. This is how I rank, and this is how I sort of take stock of PvP characters nowadays, because yeah, sure, if you play manually, if you run around, in the past I have, and I've showcased characters like that, sure, you can win against almost any opponent. But see, this is what happens in reality when you can't play on auto, or when you can't play and you have to put it on auto, or for any other PvP game mode, because the other 2 PvP game modes in this game, Alliance Conquest, not DRX, Alliance Conquest and Alliance Tournament, you cannot control your characters. So I feel like this is the right way, this is the more accurate way of ranking characters and sort of grading them, is to see how well they do on auto, because then you can also get a bit of a glimpse into how well she's going to do in Alliance Conquest, because maybe Timeline isn't really your thing, but Conquest is. So like, man, she's pretty good on auto. Like, she's, with this build here, she's tanky enough to survive, and then she can come back and clap, or she can survive until her tier 3, and then she's really going to clap. Now, in a 3 versus 3, it's a little bit harder to survive until you're tier 3, just because of the amount of damage coming out is theoretically close to triple, because you have 3 enemies that could be potentially hitting you at the same time. And unfortunately, Hela is going to take basically the maximum amount of damage possible because she has no iframe ignore, right? That's really the thing that's going to hurt her the most. So whereas other characters can hide from some of the damage, she got really lucky there. What happened? Oh, right, she popped her tier 3 skill. Yes, she popped her. Wow, she's good. She's really good. She's good. She's surprisingly good. I don't know. She's surprisingly good, but at the same time, I want to say she's a little inconsistent. I kind of want to say she's a little inconsistado. Let's try this team here. But yeah, this is how it goes. I think she's good. I definitely think she's good. Not as good as Spider-Man in my opinion. Not as good as Dr. Doom. Ooh, well, ooh, here she's, yeah, this is over. There's no way she's coming back from this one. I would not be surprised if Sentry kills her. So there you go. If you happen to take too much damage, and this is why I think a Mighty Destruction is just a mistake to build her for PvP. Mighty Destruction is great as a hybrid build, don't get me wrong, but it's not really going to cut it for PvP anymore because characters just do way too much damage with their skills. And this guy actually has a regen. So, but look at this. If Colossus didn't stink, maybe he could have. Wow, and that Sentry. Wow, that guy Sentry did all that. Let me try to see him one more time. He did all that without any support, right? He's got Doom and Spidey waiting in the back. So he's not even rocking like Ebony Maw, who would be a pretty decent counter to Hela, or, you know, anything like that. He's just rocking the regular damage. Now, I think maybe we were just victims of bad AI and bad timing, but that's really what can happen. See, this is the thing. With a character that doesn't have iframe ignore, they can get trapped into iframe cycles that basically just prevent them from doing anything, right? Like, for whatever reason, if Doom decides to cycle now between 5 and 2, Hela's going to have a really hard time surviving. Or not. I don't know what's going on. Remember 10 seconds ago when she got clapped by Sentry? Who knows what's going on? So as soon as she survives, she pops through tier 3 and it's over. Boom. She's solid, man. I don't know. This is so weird. Listen, the thing I think I want to leave you guys with is that I do believe. Ooh, let's try this team. I do believe that she is inconsistent. That's kind of what I want to say, and that fight kind of proves it, right? She died to Sentry on the first life versus soloing the whole team. There is no greater inconsistency fight to fight than that right there, and I think we might have the same thing on our hands here. This may be a grossly inconsistent fight where I fought this guy a couple times. I think the first time she got clapped completely, like she lost to Gilgamesh, and the second time she sold the whole team. But let's see here. She's not having a good time right now. Here is the best argument and the best defense for a CTP of Destruction, a Mighty Destruction. She probably would have killed him by now with a Mighty Destruction. However, she may have already died from a Mighty Destruction, from having a Mighty Destruction. She's going to pop the tier 3 and guarantee the kill. I wish she hadn't, because it would have been great for Cersei's first life here. But if she can kill Cersei the first time without triggering her artifact, we have a very good chance here, because now it's artifact versus artifact. Wait, what happened? Oh, I think Cersei did that thing that I warned you guys of at the beginning of the video. I said it triggers at 5% or less as long as you don't get chunked down. If someone one taps you from 6% to 0 or 10% to 0, then your artifact does not trigger. It's happened to my Wolverine, who happens to have type disadvantage versus Cersei, and in this case it happens because not only does Cersei deal a lot of damage with her awakening skill, but Cersei has on her passive for all Eternals 40% increased damage to supervillains. So surprisingly, although this team is made up entirely of heroes, right, the Gilgamesh, Cersei, Colossus, you think, oh man, Hela's gonna eat this team up. Not the case. Not the case. We'll try again here, but I do believe it's going to end in the same sort of situation, unless I thought, well, I don't think Gilgamesh did trigger her artifact, but maybe he did and I wasn't saying it. Well, there, he just triggered it. Yeah, see, this is what I mean by inconsistent. In my opinion, I think she's too inconsistent at the moment, and I think, unfortunately, what I'm about to say is that for a timeline battle, if you want to go ahead and use Hela as one of your main DPSs, and you want her to kind of, in this case, I'm building her to solo the team, right? Because let's be honest, Wasp is not going to do Jack, and Colossus is not going to do Jill. Then you're going to probably need at least a 5-star version of her artifact. I'm not even sure if a 4-star version of her artifact is going to cut it. A 5-star version or a 6-star version would probably be necessary for that. I know it hurts to say, but yeah, I have a 3-star version of her artifact, and I don't see her reliably winning more than 70% of the fights. And in that case, you can actually use characters who don't even have artifacts yet, and you can reliably win 70% or more. Like defenders and other teams, like, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's a bit annoying. I think I would have rather her, I don't know if I'd rather she have a revive. Revive is very overpowered on awakening characters because they revive and pop the awakening. I don't know what's going on here right now. I think he's about to pop his 6th skill, and then maybe we're gonna get a kill, but Colossus is honestly such a sad boy here. Is he even gonna get this kill? I don't even know. He's not. Oh my goodness, he's gonna, oh my. This is just sad. So yeah, that's really the issue that I think with Hela, is that she's inconsistent. She can have moments where her AI is very strong and you can solo a team or almost solo a team and you're like, wow, like Hela's the real deal, only with a 3-star artifact. Like, that's really good, Alex. And then you have other times where Gilgamesh literally kills her on his own and you're like, is she good? I'm not really sure. So I think I'd rather have, I'm not going to switch her back to a PvE build, but I think I would rather have my Mighty Destruction Hela back, because at least in that case, just die, Colossus. At least in that case, she can climb up and do up to stage She can certainly do stage 39 of Null, which is the villain stage, which I believe she can also go up to like 41 or 42 against Mephisto, because that's also villain stages, which is not bad at all. So yeah, in my opinion, I don't think this is the best build for her. Just like I was saying for Spider-Man, I do think that a Mighty Destruction or a Brilliant Destruction is the best build. However, in that case, I would probably relegate her to a support role in your PvP experience, because like I said, like, she just doesn't have enough survivability to go toe-to-toe with these heavyweights, unless you also happen to luck into a 5 or 6 star version of her artifact, which is a bit of a pain to have to recommend at this point in the game. But for Alliance Tournament, she's basically the de facto third best option now, behind Doctor Doom and Cersei. So we'll see how that goes. For those of you guys curious, Alliance Tournament, it's looking something like this for the sort of best team in the sort of 3-on-3 Alliance Conquest melee that turns into. So yeah. Anywho, hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think of PvP Hela, and if you have a build out there for her, how is it faring for you? Thank you so much for watching. Smash the like button if you enjoyed the Goddess of Death, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.